Good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a great honor to be here in this fantastic theater, of course, and also it's the first time for me to visit Israel, and I like it. So I'm sure I will be back here. But today we are here to talk a little bit about what's going on in Europe, what we are doing there related to fuel cells and hydrogen. And I selected really the title that today I can tell you hydrogen and fuel cells will become an everyday reality. So why Europe is really working on hydrogen and fuel cells? Well, first of all, it's all about energy security. We must make sure that in Europe we can produce our energy locally so that we become less dependent on maybe unstable regions, for example. Secondly, is we have to boost our European competitiveness. We have to make sure that also the European companies, they can be competitive on an international or a global level. And then, of course, the last one, and I think that we know very well, it's about the decarbonization of the European economy. And for that, with the Paris Agreement, Europe put it forward pretty severe targets, I would say. And so we need to make sure that we reach them and sure that hydrogen and fuel cells will be part of that. So some people call it the hydrogen society, like in Japan, but here in Europe we say it's the hydrogen economy. So why Europe is really putting so much emphasis on hydrogen? It's all about the energy. So for us, the main driver is to decarbonize the energy. And we all know that we have recently now in Europe, we're facing a lot of curtailed energy. So energy that basically we don't use at the moment. So there's a lot of windmills in some countries that were asked to stop, not to run. So that's really incredible. Actually, they get money from the government to stop their windmills. Also, some countries, their solar panels are really cut off of the network, of the grid, because the grid is full. So the key point, the grid is full. So what do we do at that time? So we need to store that energy. And the only way to store it for a long term is hydrogen, okay? So that's why we're working very much on electrolyzers as well. And then with the electrolyzers, of course, we can put the green electron, we can put it in hydrogen. And then the hydrogen, we can store it, for example, under the ground. Because we talk here with hydrogen mainly about seasonal storage, not like a one-day storage, but really for a long time. For example, in Germany, in Germany they have, in November, there's not enough wind or solar to produce all the electricity that they will need. So that's why they will have to capture the electricity during the summer and put it and use it then in the winter. Okay. So if we have the hydrogen, well, we can put it also in houses to heat up your houses, or also in the industry, because a lot of industry today already using the hydrogen. If you talk about refineries, we talk about ammonia plants or steel plants, so also they have to green their products, okay? Then, of course, it's not only about energy, but also transport. So at the moment in our office, we're working on everything which basically brings you from point A to point B. So up from bicycles up to basically airplanes or big ships. So who are we exactly? So we are a public-private partnership. So we have three main partners. So we have Hydrogen Europe Industry. They have about 110 members, and 50% of them is SMEs, so little companies, And then on the other hand, we have the research groupings. They call them Hydrogen Europe Research. And they are about 68 members now. And it's all across Europe, big research institutes. And in the middle, we have the European Commission. And together, we put 1.4 billion euro on the table to really speed up the development and the research in fuel cells and hydrogen technologies. And we really want to bring products to the market as soon as possible. And I think today you can already see some of those products entering the market and being available for our citizens. So we also received some objectives, of course, from the European Commission. We have 5 objectives. First of all, we have to do the hydrogen storage to balance the grid. We have to work around the production of green hydrogen. So, of course, we have electrolyzers, but it's not only that. We have also very advanced projects like produce hydrogen from direct sunlight. Also, we work around clean transport. We have to reduce the use of critical raw materials and also heat and electricity production for houses. So Today, where are we? So we have now running 203 projects supported so far for a total amount of money of 730 million euro of public money. And there's very important to mention, there's a similar leverage of private funding for 782 million euros. So you can see €1 for €1. This is basically the principle of this public-private partnership. When we look, we have two main pillars. We have transport, which is 52 projects, and energy, 114 projects. Money-wise, it's about the same. So just the transport projects is much bigger than the energy projects. But also we have a little bit money, but it's a very important activity. This is the cross-cutting. It's a 34 project, but there we talk about standardization, safety, education, and so on, public awareness. And there we work a lot with also, for example, the DOE or with across all over the world, because standardizations, I think, is something which should be globally. We worked already with Israel a lot. So we have two projects. We had Comet High and PEC Demo. So you can see the first one was with Technion, and the other one was Akhtar and Technion. So, and totally from the European Union, we paid about 630,000 euro to Israeli companies. But of course, we hope that in the future we can also further enhance this cooperation. Just to give you an example on what we achieved, for example, in the transport side. I just put here a picture of the BMW, but I mean, we work together with all the OEMs in Europe. And so what I want to say here is that from Europe, we started pretty much a lot of research projects on cell level, on stack level. And what we see now recently in July, we finished one of our projects was AutoStack Core. And the purpose of that project was to make a European supply chain, so to make really a European stack. And so we managed to do that after 2-3 different projects. And now it was very beautiful to see the German industry, which was BMW, Daimler, Volkswagen, Audi, and Ford, together with the national government of Germany, they decided to take the results of that project and now to industrialize these results. So we kicked it off, the research on a European level, and then a national level take it over. And it's really very happy to see that. Actually, they put 60 million euro on the table to really bring it into production, and they will produce around 30,000, or at least the aim is for a minimum of 30,000 stacks per year. But of course, we are not there yet. We need to drive further down the cost. So today we are still expensive per kilowatt hour, per kilowatt. But the aim is by 2030 to be equal to a cost target to a 4-cylinder combustion engine. And that's about 15 to 20 euro per kilowatt. When we look for hydrogen vehicles, so we know today we have already a couple of cars on the market. We have the Hyundai, the Renault Kangoo. This is basically a range extender. It's a pure battery electric vehicle where we put in a little stack and a tank, a hydrogen tank, so that basically the stack is basically continuously charging the battery. Also, we have the Mirai and the Honda Clarity in Europe. So today we have around 909 cars in Europe on the roads. And we hope that by the end of the year we will have 1,000 cars. You can see that mainly in Europe it's the Hyundai. We have nearly 500 Hyundai's fuel cell cars on the road. So here you can also see which other OEMs are coming. You see BMW will come, Volkswagen, Audi is coming. So we also see that the European OEMs now finally starting to come with cars, where the Asian were already there. So we had seen Daimler launched in September on the Frankfurt Motor Show, their GLC. So they are coming. From hydrogen refueling stations, so at the current situation is that we have 135 HRSs in Europe, but it's important to mention that 90 are public. The other ones are private, for example, bus depots or so on. We have financed a couple of them, and this slide here shows basically where we are over time. So you could see, for example, for vehicle sales that we started in 2012, 2013 with the first vehicles in Europe. But when you look to the red and the gray line, basically you can see that US and Japan is really accelerating the sales of vehicles, while in Europe it stays a bit stable. And the reason is very simple. It's just policy. Yes, policy matters, and it can make a change. So if you see California with the ZEV mandate, or in Japan with it's heavily subsidizing the cars, so you can lease it for a very cheap rate. So that's where the big difference comes from. because there is a clear market demand for the cars, but in Europe, unfortunately, they're very expensive to lease them. Also, when we look to the HRSs, you can see that in Europe we started to build HRSs already back in 2006, were the first ones. And then later on we see also Japan and Europe coming. And I think European companies have gained a lot of experience. They did a lot of debugging and improved their stations over the past 10 years. And now they basically sharing that experience with US and California, also Japan or Korea, in order that they can also build up faster their HRS market. When we look basically on the buses, this is one of our success stories as well, is that we have done several projects, and we have started with Chick and then Velocity and so on. And when we see the first bus, it was 1.8 million euro that we almost 100% funded at that time, because there was no interest from the industry to really have a hydrogen bus at all. So we did it because we believed that was the way forward. And then through all the next project, you can see, and that's the green line, basically that the cost went down. And now we are around 625,000 euro. But at the same time, and this is the red line, is the private side investments. You saw that private side more and more invested. And actually, I'm about to sign by the end of the year Jive 2, because here you can see Jive with this 139. So Jive 2 will have 151 buses. It's a 225 million euro project, and we pay 25 million. So what I want to say is that we fund one bus from the European Commission, and the industry will put 9 buses. So we create a leverage of 1 to 9, where in the beginning it was just us. And that's, you see how far we come in only a couple of years. So of course our target is 450,000 euro. We have to go down further. It's very good news, because one of our European companies, Solaris, they said a couple of weeks ago that once they get an order of 100 fuel cell buses, they will make it for 450,000 euro. And that was our target. And I believe if we have 450,000 euro, then we can be competitive with, for example, a diesel hybrid bus. So while we did all those projects, I mean, a lot of mayors and governors, they became very interested. They saw, oh, what's going on? We see hydrogen buses in London and Hamburg. So they started to call us, and at the moment we created actually an inventory, and we have now an appetite for 919 buses already. So they would like them all to have them very fast. I'm not sure that it will work, but at least we now here have to think how we do that. We need different financial instruments, because we are a research program. So, but once you go to 1,000 buses, that's not research anymore. That is really deployment, and we need to think about other means to do that. So what I want to say here is that basically we started 10 years ago with one project, Chick, which was 26 buses, costed 82 million euro, and we unlock really a potential today of more than almost 1,000 buses, 2 billion euro market value. So it's pretty impressive what you can do. But at the same time, we also saw, because when we started FCH2, that was in 2013, at that time we talked mainly about HRSs, hydrogen refueling station, about cars and buses, but the technology really improved so fast, and thanks to basically many of you as researchers that you worked very hard on this technology and you pushed it really forward, that now a lot of other applications, they come to my door and they knock on my door and say, oh, well, I mean, you know, for airplanes we would like to do, for trains we would like to do. So I say, whoa, suddenly all these applications are coming, and it's very challenging, but we need to see how we will address them, because it's all very expensive. When we talk, for example, trains, so because that's one business case that we're really seeing flying, because 42% in Europe, the railway is not yet decarbonized, so they still use diesel engines. So actually what came out is that instead of putting all these electrical wires, which cost about 1.2 million euro per kilometer, it's much cheaper. Actually, it's 50% cheaper just to put a hydrogen train. So there is a clear business case today, and we see that, for example, in Germany, but also now in Netherlands, Italy, Norway. So they all start to now work on hydrogen trains. And actually the authorities are very interested to do that. Also in the maritime, so for example, the port of Valencia in Spain, they said, okay, we want to decarbonize our ports, because many of the ports are really going very deep inside the cities. So the citizens are living very close to where the pollution is. And so they all realize that they have to decarbonize their ports. So, and then now recently they became more and more interested in hydrogen. We did a workshop in Valencia, and we saw so many new companies coming. I mean, in 1 week, the whole conference was basically full, and so we had even to reject people to register. And so we had a really, really good discussion and a lot of new interests of companies in doing that. Also, trucks next year, we will see a kick-off on the European roads. So we fund also a couple of those projects, but we see that Scania is coming, VDL is coming next year. So really, it's very important that even very heavy duty now also starts to discover fuel cells and hydrogen. By ourselves, I mean, we started already a long time ago, first with APUs, but we realized that this is too expensive. So then we went to range extenders. So we will see how that goes. But by the end of this year, we will fund also garbage trucks now, because a lot of cities are closing their city centers. And of course, as a mayor, you have to lead by example. So you have to make sure that also your cars, for example, for the garbage or to clean up the streets, you know, these sweepers or how they call that, so they have to be also emission-free. But also there's a lot of competition coming. I mean, we see also US with Nikola trucks, the Toyota trucks in LA Port and so on is coming. Also we see China is working on it. They will put 2,000 commercial trucks on the next 3 years on the road. Also in Japan, we see Toyota teaming up with 7-Eleven to bring all the products in an environmental friendly way to the shops. And there are a lot of 7-Eleven shops in Japan if you've ever been there. So there's a huge potential there as well. Next is on airplanes. So last year we had in Germany the first airplane propelled by hydrogen who took off and landed safely. So it was a 4-seater. And now we are working to make actually a 6 to 10-seater plane. So this is for business jets. And we believe a lot of companies, these CEOs and so on, they want to travel in a green and a clean way. And that's why we believe there's a lot of business opportunities there as well. But still, there's a lot of research that still need to be done there to make it happen. But we are determined to do it. When we go to energy side, one of our success stories is of course the electrolyzers. I mean, back in 2011, we started with funding the first electrolyzer that was 150 kilowatt. At that time, when we went to the industry and the research, it was, oh my God, 150 kilowatt, that's very hard to do it. I mean, they were suffering, you know. Well, today I will sign now a 10 megawatt PEM electrolyzer for Shell in Germany in the refinery. And next year in our call 2018, we will go for a 20 megawatt. And I have to say that we push here a little bit the industry and the researchers because this year they wanted to say, well, for next year, maybe 12 megawatts. I said, no, 20 megawatts. They said, well, 20 is too hard. I said, no, go for 20. 12, no, 20. Okay, they go for 20. So, you know, that's how you push really also the research and the industry to go further. And because we need 20 watt, because you need to create a lot of hydrogen, so to make it cheap, you know. And when you can reach a green hydrogen on 1.5 euro per kilogram, then you're competitive with basically SMR or steam methane reforming, which is about 1 to 1.5 euro. And that's why we need to go at least on a 20 megawatt scale. That's why we push them. Because then we can use transport, steel, and refinery, chemical can start to use. And then, yes, a little bit of that hydrogen then can also be used in mobility, because mobility will not be the main driver for this hydrogen. So energy as well, this is one of our success stories. This is micro CHPs. This is, for those who don't know that, this is basically your gas boilers. So you can replace your gas boiler by a micro CHP. So it started basically in Germany with Calix. It was a NIP program from NOW, our colleagues from Germany who also have a big hydrogen fuel cell program in Germany. We're working very close together with them. And actually, when they started, they put it the first unit. It was still very expensive. And then we say, okay, let's make also a couple of projects really to scale up, to go to 1,000, 2,500 units, really to push the price down. And we really went down with the price a lot. We reduced it by more than 40%. And actually, when that happened, a lot of countries like Germany or the UK, they became interested to start subsidizing programs on a national level. So again, we started on a European level, then the national level took it over, and they make really their subsidy program. So I think I have to probably stop because you're here already, but I'm almost there. So also we work on cross-cutting. For example, try to make a definition of guarantees of green origin for hydrogen. So what is green hydrogen? We agreed with the industry what is the definition on that. This year we will start to make a book and claim system. Also, we trained the fire departments or the first responders. That's very important. So how to approach in case of an accident. These are the kind of things that we are doing there. Also, we have some successes with startups deriving really from our research projects. We had Sylvan. This is a spin-off from CEA, which is basically making your building autonomously in energy. Also, we had Symbio, which is making these range extenders for the Kangoo. Also, last year, when I became the executive director, I said, well, Europe has 500 million people. How can I reach these 500 million people? You know, it's so huge. So then I said, well, we have to work with the mayors, because the mayors are very close to the citizens, you know. And that's why I sent out a memorandum of understanding or a request to join through a memorandum of understanding to work together with us to all the regions across Europe. And today we have 84 participants. They signed up an MOU, which is representing more than 110 million citizens of Europe and more than 3.7 trillion of euros of GDP. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And so, together with them, basically, we try to see how this technology can help them to decarbonize their local society, or also what can it bring in terms of jobs and growth in their area. And also, of course, we need to help them with the best financing schemes. Okay, but very important, it's no cost for the cities to join, just their own time and traveling cost. Just a little bit PR talk now. So we will have our 10th year edition of the Stakeholder Forum. So it's on the 22nd of November in Brussels. After that, we have our program review days, 23 and 24. This is the same like the AMR in the US and by the DOE. But then again, we are the first joint undertaking at the European Commission to reach the 10th edition. So it's time for a party. Okay, thank you very much.